Hello and welcome to another episode of Tackling Sport Podcast and another episode of Premier League Predictions. It's Daniel here, joined once again by my brother Sean.
How's it going?
And firstly, we'd welcome back the champion from last week after I think it was 11-8, possibly 12-8 to Kevin Quinn.
Good to be back, lads.
There's two in a row. And the challenger this week, we had to search far and wide for someone that was actually decent to take him on. And we went all the way to Auckland, New Zealand to find Ciarán McDermott. So Ciarán, welcome to the podcast.
Thanks very much, lads. Great to be here. Big fan of the show.
Yes, Ciarán, one of our many New Zealand fans, obviously. So we'll go straight to you. We'll go to Kev first, champion as always, and we're going to go straight into it, lads, and then I'll have the chat then. So Leeds versus West Ham. For those that don't follow before, it's 3 points for correct score, 1 point for correct result, and its winner stays on. So Kev, Leeds at home to West Ham. How do you see this game going?
Yeah, I think this is going to be a very exciting game. West Ham, obviously, I thought they were quite good against United last week for 45 minutes at least. And Leeds last week were very good against Chelsea. Despite the scoreline, I don't think the scoreline reflected, what went on in the match at all. I think Leeds are a much stronger side, especially going forward than West Ham. I think Jared Bowen has been very good for West Ham, but I still unsure about Haller, as you probably can tell from what I was saying about him last week. So I've kind of went the way of Leeds here. I think they just have better attacking players than West Ham do. So I've gone for a 2-0 win for Leeds to start it off.
2-0 win to start. Ciarán, straight into you. I'm very interested now to get your opinion on these two teams, Leeds versus West Ham. I've built you up now. The fans are expecting, I don't know what they're expecting, but a decent score here. So what do you make of this game?
Yeah, both teams coming off a loss, but both, I suppose, look good early doors in those games. I think it's a good fixture. I fancy Leeds just to shade it based on West Ham's dodgy enough away form. I've gone 2-1 Leeds for this one. I think they'll have enough to get the job done.
Nice, interesting. Leeds, Sean, you've hated enough on Leeds over the past few weeks. The lads have gone all in on Leeds United here. Your thoughts on this game?
Yeah, it's an interesting one. I think, look, they're missing Robin Koch is obviously injured, and Llorente, who came in against Chelsea, is injured. So you had that kind of bizarre press conference where Marco Bielsa, Villa's translator, is naming a side. So I think, look, that they're not going to surprise West Ham, I don't think. But I think what's the big thing for a promoted team when they come up to the Premier League is when you lose a game is to not double down and lose two. And it's what teams have struggled, the likes of West Brom, Fulham, Sheffield United this year, they've compounded their errors in previous games. And, Leeds, after they beat Aston Villa, they lost to Leicester, then lost to Crystal Palace, then got a draw against Arsenal. So it's that, losing two in a row is not a good look. So, I think they've got to go into this game and definitely try and attack it. Now, I think these games suit West Ham on the break away from home. They've a really good defensive shape. The only thing is Arthur Masuaku is injured, the left wing back, so that could change a bit of a change in shape, and whether they go forth the back and Cresswell moves out to left back, that'll be quite an interesting one. But like Kevin and Ciarán said, there's attacking quality on both sides, and Jared Bowen is really starting to get a good run of games under himself and show that he's a top class player.
I saw Moisey there says he doesn't believe the lineup from Bielsa, so that'll be interesting to see. I actually missed that him name, and I only saw the Moyes story there, but I think Moisey boy now will have them sussed there. And to be honest, I've been pretty impressed with West Ham. They kind of threw the game away against United, so I can see them definitely getting something away to Leeds. Ciarán, we'll go to you for Wolves versus Villa. What do you make of these two teams? Like, obviously, we haven't seen Villa in a week or two with the coronavirus there, but I guess Jack Grealish, obviously a few photos of him going around today if you haven't seen them. But how do you see this game going?
Yeah, it's an interesting one. Obviously, it's a West Midlands derby. There's plenty of factors to consider on that one. I think Jimenez is a huge loss. And I'm not too sure he's still out injured, isn't he? I don't think that's the real kind of cut replacement for them there. I think that's massive.
I think he's out for the foreseeable, for as far as I know.
Yeah, interesting. Obviously, Villa back-to-back losses prior to the postponements. So there's huge kind of factors at stake for them. I do think it'll be an interesting clash. I think it's a 1-1 draw is what I've gone for. It should be a good game. It could go either way. But yeah, I just think based on those factors, Wolves without much of an attacking threat, obviously Jimenez gone, and Aston Villa with lots to play for. I'm going to say 1-1.
Yeah, I say that's a good shout, Kev.
Yeah, I've kind of gone a different way. I've said 3-1 for Wolves. I originally had Aston Villa to win it, but kind of when I thought about it, Aston Villa didn't play last week. There's a lot of controversy over, club captain Jack Grealish not exactly doing club captain duties this week. So I don't know. It's a bit of a weird one, and Wolves are the type of team that won't go 2 weeks in a row with a loss or significant loss of that. Especially with them playing at home this week in West Midlands derby. I can't imagine, they'll concede too many goals. I think like Raul Jimenez, he is out for the season and possibly more, unfortunately. But I still think that they have, the attacking power to really get at them. The likes of Podence and everything this season have been like really, really stood up for them. So I've said 3-1 for Wolves. I think there'll be goals in this game, and I'm hoping for a 3-1 win for Wolves.
Yeah, well, I can definitely see Villa get something out of it, Sean. I was very impressed with Wolves halfway through the game against Liverpool. I thought they looked good on the counter-attack and then obviously ended up losing 4-0. But I do think they look dangerous even without Jimenez. I think almost more dangerous at times playing an away-from-home style. I guess it's probably going to miss them more at home to the likes of Villa.
Yeah, I think the injury probably came at the worst time as well because they sort of moved shape and moved from 5 to 4 at the back, and that kind of feeds into Raul Jimenez and getting more bodies around them and creative players like Neto and Traore and Podence, who's been outstanding, as the lads have said. Look, I think, it is a big game for Aston Villa because, like you said, they've gone a couple of weeks. They had that very disappointing loss to West Ham. They kind of stumbled at times. You think of the Leeds game where they got outplayed. I kind of fancy Wolves here. They don't concede too many. They don't actually concede too many chances. Bar the Liverpool game, which you're losing to probably the best team in Europe. So I think I fancy Wolves here to keep a clean sheet and keep Villa out.
Interesting. Then Ciarán, we'll stick with you then and go for Newcastle versus West Brom. Are you a Steve Bruce fan?
Big Steve Bruce fan. Yeah, absolutely.
They are, Sean. I think that's the first one. That's the first one we've had. Well, at least publicly said. I don't know if you mean that genuinely, but how do you see this game going?
Yeah, close one. Obviously, West Brom have some serious problems at the back, shipping 5 to Palace. Pereira will be a loss as well. But yeah, pretty much. I think I'm going to back the home team here. There's not a whole lot between them. But I think 2-0 Newcastle based on the strength. Hopefully, they bounce back well from that. Either, you can see it as one way as a break or a rest for their players, or as a bit of a distraction, that postponement. So it could go either way, but I think they'll have enough based on their home form and to take a 2-0 win.
And quick thoughts on West Brom. I didn't hear Darragh O'Shea mentioned there at all.
No, shame. Friend of the show, Darragh O'Shea, St. Jude's club man. Yeah, interesting. Yeah, I know I don't rate them, to be honest, too highly. So I don't think they'll cause Newcastle too much trouble. So yeah, I fancy Newcastle in this one.
Kev?
Yeah, I'm of the same opinion as Ciarán there. Like, I have 3-0 Newcastle down. Newcastle, I was just saying before the show, they had their the break last week. And West Brom, I was really hopeful of them last week. I think I said a 2-2 draw and they ended up losing 5-1. So I haven't backed them at all this week. So I've went 3-0 Newcastle. I think they're much more attacking than West Brom are, especially with the loss of Pereira. So that's going to be huge for them. For West Brom's point of view. So yeah, 3-0 Newcastle, and I can't imagine it going any other way there.
There's been that red card to Pereira. Like, I think, there's so many times now you even watch football and you think, oh, that's a decision that the VAR has made, and it's not say given in the Championship. I think that's a case of it, and it's a huge loss. They've had ill-disciplined issues this year already. West Brom, obviously, Kieran Gibbs got sent off. Horrendously against Everton, and that kind of haunted them and haunted Kieran Gibbs. He hasn't got back in the team ahead of Connor Townsend, so it's a game where this is not Steve Bruce's forte. It's not going to be an enjoyable game to watch. Two sides, you'd imagine, who are going to spend most of the game trying to defend their own box and defend what they have. And I'm sure Newcastle, the added quality they have with the likes of Wilson and Almiron and Joe Linton, who's really impressed me in recent weeks, think he's added a little bit to his game. I think I could see him scoring, and not an easy day for West Brom. And
quick word on Steve Bruce, still doing it?
Yeah, look, that Crystal Palace game was a prime example. They kept themselves in the game. They waited for Palace to overcommit, and Palace, Newcastle stopped them playing as well. Like, Palace were horrendous, and Newcastle just did it on the break. And I must say, I really like their midfield three of Longstaff, Shelby, and they kind of played Hendrick. And I think there's a great mixture of passing and legs and kind of a more defensive mindset in Sean Longstaff. I think that midfield three could be something to watch going forward.
Yeah, okay, we'll go to you as a United fan. So, Ciarán, I never introduced you. You're still a Liverpool fan, aren't you, Ciarán? Yes,
I am indeed, yeah.
Yeah, that's good to know. United fan Kev here. We're going to go to you for the Manchester derby. We have to talk about the Leipzig game, Kev, unfortunately. Contractually obliged to ask you what happened.
They just got it all wrong, didn't they? Like every time, I think I don't know. I was watching it, and every time the ball went over to Angelino, I don't know how it's not said to Aaron Wan-Bissaka, you need to get tighter, you need to stop tucking in so much, you need a centre mid to drop back in so he can go out to Angelino. It's just madness, in my opinion. Like, the ball went out to him 3 or 4 times. He controlled it, and he could have scored, and it could have been 3-0 after what was 25 minutes if it wasn't for a bit of kind of laziness on the Leipzig part. It's just, I don't know. It was madness on the week that week, and in that game. Sorry, and the thing about it, what the most infuriating thing was Luke Shaw staying on for Alex Telles, and then Luke Shaw coming off 10 minutes later for Brandon Williams, who honestly I'd say my grandmother can get into the team ahead of him sometimes. Like, he's woeful. So I'm going off on a rant here.
Oh, keep going.
Yeah. But yeah, I need to vent my frustration somewhere. But I don't know what it is. United are a weird team. Like, 1 minute they could be great, 1 minute they can be woeful. I'm going to stick with them here. Man City, I think, have been a bit dodgy this season. Like, United have less losses than Man City this season so far, which is madness in my opinion. Because United have been woeful again. So I've went with a 2-0 win for United. I don't know what more I should say on it. I'll probably get more annoyed even talking about them. But yeah, I'm hoping for a 2-0 win, some sort of response after the game midweek. And yeah, that's how I see it going, hopefully.
We'll go to Ciarán, and Kev, feel free to come in again if you've any more to say about Ollie or just ranting in general about the Brandon Williams substitution. Ciarán, how do you see this game going? And did you catch any of that Leipzig game?
Yeah, I did indeed. Yeah, it definitely an interesting one. I think this is definitely the pick of the fixtures, obviously, this week. I'm a little bit back in United as well, which is funny. I thought I would have been going against what Kev thought. In terms of United, so far this season, I think they've had the strength of character to bounce back from tough results, because they have had a few this season so far. They haven't had the strength of character to string the results together. And so I think, based on going out of the Champions League, obviously a lot of publicity around the club in a negative sense this week, I fancy him to nick a 1-1 draw. I think that's the best idea. I don't think I have enough to win the game. And yeah, obviously based in Old Trafford with the fans there, I think that'll carry them through to get a 1-1 draw. I don't see them getting much else. And yeah, that's how I see it going.
Sean, yeah, how do you see this game going? Would you kind of be siding which way are you going there? Again, it's kind of a tough one to decide in general. I can see it being a low scoring enough affair, because these games actually tend to be most of the time.
Yeah, no, I fancy City here. Look, yes, they haven't properly been at their best this season. The Leicester game being a prime example. But I think, I said it before, away to Leeds and a couple of other games, Raheem Sterling has chances with 3 or 4 minutes to go. And a couple of years ago, he puts that in. And I think Pep Guardiola is well aware of that. He's sort of resting and rotating, trying to find the right balance. Ferran Torres has played a lot, especially in the Champions League, and looked really, really sharp. So I think at the moment they seem at times to set up a little bit more defensively solid at the moment. I'm starting to like Diaz. I know Stones has played in recent weeks because of injuries and stuff, but I think Diaz has been a great signing. But I do fancy Manchester City here, and look, we all know United are probably going to score. The attacking quality they have, what way they set up, because of obviously Cavani started, then got taken off. So there's all this stuff to worry about in the West Ham game. So I think I'm going to go with Pep Guardiola. As long as he doesn't, you get the feeling of Pep Guardiola that he overthinks some of these big games, and he tries to overthink who he's coming up against. And you can understand that against Mourinho. Obviously, I think with Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, it's maybe more of an open book, and United are more of a traditional style. They're not going to do anything out of the ordinary, and I think that might suit Pep Guardiola.
Kev, quick word, who would you start on Saturday?
In terms of which positions are?
Maybe the front four, if you had an idea or a vague idea.
It's a funny one, because I think Martial's out. I don't know what the story is with Cavani. But I'd have to. You'd obviously go with Rashford. I don't know. It's a weird one. Rashford and Greenwood. Greenwood's the best finisher in the club by a country mile, I think, as well. Despite that early chance in the Leipzig game, which I won't talk about because I'll get even more annoyed. Yeah, I'd go. It's a weird one. Rashford, Greenwood, and I'd hope for Cavani, because I think that's the type of game that Cavani would really prosper in. He's kind of a big game player. He should have scored against PSG a few weeks ago. He didn't. He was unlucky. I don't think it's the game for Martial. I know he scored in the same fixture last year, but he just hasn't been at it at all this season. And then Bruno, of course, and just behind him.
So no
one
Pogba.
man Pogba, I don't know. I used to be Pogba's biggest fan, but the thing he said last week. Apparently, that was said. He made that interview. I think it was the thing that came out just before the Leipzig game. That was said last week. It wasn't actually said before the game, which obviously really I think must have affected the players. There's no way it couldn't have.
And it's Minio Raiola knowing what it's going to do, and knowing that he's got so much pull over Manchester United. Like, the thing that will annoy United fans, I thought Pogba when he came on looked really good, and that's every time you mention is he worth the hassle? Like, he's a quality footballer, but I think he's too big a problem for Manchester United, and I think these things are going to run their natural course, and I think everyone knows inevitably in the summer that because of what Bruno has done and Van de Beek is probably going to be trusted over him in the next coming weeks. I think it's goodbye Pogba at the end of the year.
I'm the same with that, to be honest. Yeah.
Ciarán, quick word from you on Ollie, just in general, because we haven't got your thoughts on that. Ollie in or Ollie out, or what would you kind of think as a Liverpool fan?
Yeah. To be honest with you, I only think he's there for a reason, and it's to bring the club forward. They're never going to win trophies with Ollie, I don't think. But at the same time, obviously, as a club legend, he's kind of putting his ambitions to one side, and he knows that. And yeah, it's for someone to come in and I suppose just have that period of rebuilding without doing anything drastic, I suppose, with the likes of the managers that they've just had and who are more in there for them. I think it's beneficial to have this period with him. But going forward, I don't think a Cardiff and Molde manager can do you any good, to be honest, in the Premier League.
Yeah, and I remember people used to bring that up and the fans would go mad, but they're the facts. He's managed Cardiff and got Cardiff relegated and managed Molde, and that's his managerial career today. But look, Ciarán, we'll stick with you then from one young manager to another in Frank Lampard and Chelsea. Everton at home to Chelsea. Now, if you asked me this maybe a month ago, I'd have been really sweet on Everton here, but to be honest with you, the way Chelsea are playing, the defence is kind of getting going. Mendy's come in, he's done all right. You can definitely see Chelsea coming into Goodison Park and winning.
Yeah, I think so. Obviously, Everton, if weren't great against Burnley again, I think in this one they'll probably take a point. Well, I don't know. Obviously, the ambition might have shifted since the good start they've had has kind of capitulated a little bit. And Chelsea looked really strong against Leeds, and I think they're coming into their own. Obviously, Frank will have ambitions on the title this year. They've just got heaps of attacking options. Everton, on the other hand, they're kind of more limited, especially at the back. I think Everton. Yeah, I'm going to go 2-2 draw, based on home factors, stuff like that. Everton might bounce back, but yeah, that's what I'm thinking.
Yeah, because Everton still have quality team on paper. I know they're missing the couple of
absolutely.
Yeah, Kev, on to you with Chelsea. They're definitely playing a lot better than maybe we would have done a few weeks ago. Can you see them coming to Goodison Park and winning? And then can you see them challenging for the league?
Yeah, this is another one that I actually changed my mind on. I went the same way as Ciarán. I said 2-2 originally, but kind of when you come to think about it, Chelsea, they've just been playing really well the last few weeks, and Frank has got it right nearly every time, bar the few exceptions. I think he's lost 3 games or something this season, but I don't know. Everton a month ago, I would have said, yeah, Everton 2-0 win, with the way both these teams were playing a month or two ago. But the way Chelsea, they've really come into their own. Thiago Silva has looked so much more assured at the back in the last few weeks. Giroud starting up top as well. Giroud, a criminally underrated striker, I have to say. And they have the likes of Timo and all sorts, but it's a weird one. On paper, both these teams are, in my opinion, quite even, nearly attacking wise, but at the back, you'd still fancy Chelsea to keep out Everton rather than Everton keep out Chelsea. So yeah, originally I had 2-2, but I have to say I'm going to go for a 3-1 win for Chelsea. I think Everton will score. They could score more than one goal, but I still think Chelsea have a lot more attacking prowess than Everton do.
You seem to change your opinion a lot and quite drastically.
I know. It's a weird one, yeah.
But listen, that's good. It's good stuff. Sean, how do you see this game going? Again, you have to be not but impressed with Chelsea, and you nearly think this is a big year for Frank, because realistically Liverpool won't be as weak next year with Van Dijk, etc. back.
Yeah, and when you think of the money they've spent, I mean, it's actually, we should be expecting that maybe, Frank is getting a little bit of an easy ride, and because of his nature and a young English manager. But I think when you look at the money they've spent, I mean, you've got to really start putting questions, and we've seen the form, and I think the Champions League is going to be huge for them this year, because I think it's going to be big as to how much they've grown and how much they've improved. I think I fancy Everton here, because if they can get the ball into wide areas and into Calvert-Lewin, I mean, I think if you ask Thiago Silva or Zuma who they'd rather play or who they'd least right to play, and most centre halves, I think they'd least rather play Calvert-Lewin, because Everton play a very direct game up. to Calvert-Lewin. He can run in behind. He can run in the channels. I think he's just a modern day striker who can do everything. I don't think there's a bad part of his game at the moment, and especially in the form that he's in. I think he's going to cause them huge problems. And look, I think Chelsea probably have enough going forward to get them out of trouble, but I just think it's a bit of a banana skin. Goodison Park, there's going to be fans back there, like we saw fans at the Liverpool game. I can't underestimate how big a difference the fans for Everton will give, especially after that good start to the season and it's kind of tailed off. I think it's going to give them a huge lift, especially at Goodison Park, such a tough place to go historically. So I fancy Everton here, and definitely to get something from the game.
Absolutely. Listen, Kev, we'll go to you for Southampton, Sheffield United. My team, massive win away to Brighton. My second team, sorry, I still have an Arsenal affiliation still, just about. How do you see this game going? Like, Sheffield United have been, I wouldn't say awful is the wrong word, but I guess, they were unlucky the last day against Leicester, but they've only got 1 point out of 10 or 11 games. It's not good.
Yeah, Southampton getting me the win this week, sending me through to here. But yeah, I don't know. It's a weird one. I thought Southampton were a much better team than they actually are, to be honest. Because I keep saying that they're going to win games and everything, and yeah, they do. But they're edging it. They're not. They're never beating teams outright. They're not beaten by 2 or 3 goals. It's always by a 1 goal margin. And Sheffield played. I thought they were excellent last week against Leicester. Really, really unlucky. It's a weird one. I like Sheffield as a team. So I've gone with a 2-1 win for Sheffield. I think it could be their week. I think a win is really needed for them at this stage, and I think if they win on the weekend against Southampton, it'll be massive for their season.
Wow, I think Kev doesn't see you as a threat, Ciarán, if he's tipping Sheffield United with 1 draw in 11 games against you. But how do you see this game going? Hope you didn't take offense.
Yeah, fair play. I wasn't as brave as Kev with this one, but I am quite sympathetic to Sheffield as well. And if you pay attention to the expected goals table, it puts them on a lot higher than 1 point. And so I do think they'll get a result in their next 3 games. To be honest with you, I don't think it's this one. And I think with Ings back and Southampton at home, I've gone 2-1 Southampton. But like Kev mentioned, Sheffield are definitely don't deserve to be where they are. And obviously Chris Wilder is a top manager, so I think he'll take control eventually. I still see them probably going down, but obviously the form should definitely shift. But yeah, I suppose checking out a little bit and just gone 2-1 Southampton. But yeah, Sheffield I think are due results, and we'll get it soon.
Play the percentages there, Ciarán. Now, good man. You still gave Sheffield United the shout out for going for Southampton. Sean, you mentioned before Danny Ings would be a massive loss. He came back probably quicker than expected there in half time, and obviously got his goal from the penalty, albeit it probably wasn't a penalty. How do you see this game going? Again, you're a massive Chris Wilder fan, but I fear that's going the same way as Norwich being your second team last year.
I know, and Norwich are top of the championship now with 14 first team players missing, but I'll just go with
championship football.
Yeah,
thank you, Kev.
14 first team players missing, and they don't spend any money. The Sheffield United, look, I think they've hit rock bottom, to be honest. I don't think it can get worse than that. Jamie Vardy, and I think everyone knows he's a Sheffield Wednesday fan, scoring, the celebration. I think they've hit rock bottom. I don't think it can get any worse from here. It can, but I think while they still have a hope at the moment, they still have hope, and I don't think it can get worse. But it's a tough one to predict because I like Sheffield United. I think the one thing I would say is, look, someone like John Egan there, when Vardy goes through, a lot of people are saying take him down. Look, I think that's a decision that sort of idea should be made at the start of the year. And John Egan's played for Chris Wilder a long, long time, so he would have known what to do there. So I think, we should see a big performance from him because he's not that he's costed his team a point, not by any stretch of the imagination, but because he didn't get the red card, he's got to show now why he didn't, and that he's such a big part of the Sheffield United side. I don't know. I like Burke. I like Burke and McBurney up top. I think that gives them something different. Burke is 4.3 million on fancy as a midfielder, so I brought him in and hoping one day he might score. So I'll go Burke to score, Sheffield United to win.
Yeah, quick word, lads, on the John Egan. Anyone any strong opinions on that? For those that missed it or listening, Vardy was through about 20 yards from goal, and John Egan clipped him, would have got sent off. But 90-minute realistically would have been a draw. Any strong opinions? Was he right to do it, not to do it?
In my opinion, I don't think he should have done it because they're strapped for defenders as it is, and their main defender. Imagine going into a game against Danny Ings and Che Adams that are both in form kind of way. I think it'd be mad for him to dive in, get a red card, and I don't know. Club captain, I'd say he just wants to play at this point. I think he just wants them to do well. It's a weird one. I know they could have got a draw out of it. Maybe if it was they were winning and they would have only got a point out of it, he dives in. But I don't know. It's a weird one, to be honest.
Yeah, I think the same. I think he was right to hold back like that. He's an honourable player. They're a good club, and they'll get out of it the right way because Chris Wilder seems a real good football man. So I don't think that's kind of cynical tactics will get them anywhere. So I think, yeah, he's dead right.
Yeah, and even the Villa, with the red card he got there at the start of the season, probably played on his mind a bit. Kev, we'll stick with you then for Palace at home to Spurs. Yeah, Spurs are quite impressive against Arsenal. They kind of bossed the game in terms of telling Arsenal exactly where to play, where they wanted them to do. Second half, they made no effort of playing, but it almost felt like Spurs were in fully control of the game, to be honest with you. I know a lot of people saying Arsenal dominated the second half, but I think Spurs allowed that to happen. How do you see this game going against a Palace team that just keep finding a way to get the points on the board? And what are they up to now? 11, 16 points. They're actually only 4 points, maybe 5 points off the top 4 place.
Yeah, this one you'll have to bear with me for. I went for a 2-1 win for Palace.
The floor is yours.
Yeah, as you said, like last week, Palace aren't a team that you necessarily sit in against. I think Spurs will attack for this kind of game, even though I know it's Jose ball that's being played. But it's a weird, like, Palace are a really good side, and people don't really give them the respect that they deserve. They have really good players, like Wilfred Zaha last week. He puts himself in the top 5, top 10 best players in the league, in my opinion, just solely by that performance. I know it's against West Brom, but he does that against the big teams, for fun. Palace, it's obviously a rotten stadium to go to. It's small. The crowd's on top of you. I think there's a crowd at this match anyway, but it's small. There's a crowd on top of you that will really get behind the team. And Crystal Palace players, they're the type of lads that put their body on the line every time they play a big team. The kind of team that slay the giant every time they play somebody. So I've gone for a 2-1 win for Palace. They played really well last week. Spurs, I think, will underestimate them big time, especially on the run of form they're on. And I think Palace are the team that will do it. But again, I could look stupid then on the weekend, but we'll see. No,
listen, it's game of opinions, Ciarán.
Fair play, Kev. Pretty brave call there. I don't think I'm going to be as brave for this one. I back Spurs quite heavily, and I suppose as a Liverpool fan, it almost makes me a bit nervous. I suppose this Jose second season statistic of what he's done with teams when he's had a season there, and winning kind of numerous titles and stuff like that. And they've got a wealth of attacking talent. I think they're strong all over the park, to be honest with you. And Palace are hit and miss to me. So I'm going to go 2-0 Spurs for this one.
Sean?
Yeah, like I was so impressed with, like, what Palace have is they've got streaky players. I mean, when they play well, they all seem to play well. Eze lit up the championship for QPR, and then you see him some weeks and he do nothing. And I think that's sort of the team Palace are, and Roy Hodgson and Ray Lewington are sort of finding something from them when they need it. And I think Kev's right. I think Tottenham are going to try and control the game. I'm not sure. Like, this is where Højbjerg and Sissoko, I don't think they have enough football to control a game, especially in Selhurst Park. I think it could be a lot of, basketball style, a lot of high transitions. And I think
will Harry Wings come in?
Yeah, look, I think this is a game where I don't think he will come in, but I think it's a game where they could slot him in there because that's what he's good at. And I think it's sort of underappreciated in the modern game. And I think if Tottenham are to go a goal up or a goal, or go 2 goals up, I think you might see him come on and try and control the game. But like I said, Selhurst Park can really tire you out. And if you give any sort of room to Zaha, Eze, Jordan Ayew, even the 2 fullbacks, I think you can cause them huge problems. And at the back, I think Gary Cahill is a huge player for Palace. And I know they played Kouyaté there last week instead of Scott Dan. So it'll be interesting to see what they do in that. But I think, I kind of half fancy half fancy Palace here. But you know what Jose is like. He knows this ground inside out. He'll know what to expect.
Yeah, Ciarán, we'll move on to you being a Liverpool fan, as you mentioned earlier in the show. Away to Fulham, this could get kind of ugly in that sense. How impressed have you been with your team the last couple of years? It must be kind of great. Look on and kind of envy a lot of you guys.
Absolutely, yeah. I think it's really just the difference between Liverpool now and the difference between Liverpool generally in the last kind of 10 or 15 years even. And it's just that consistency and the ability to string games together. They lost a game 3 years ago to Watford, and Jordan Henderson came out and spoke so openly about how that can't happen. They have to have the strength of character to win games like that. And ever since then, they've just been kind of just absolutely phenomenal mentality wise. It's great to see an Irishman in the Liverpool first team as well, first time in I suppose over 10 years. He's done great. Kelleher looks like Alisson's going to step back in now, but yeah, he's in the box seat there for a really good future at Liverpool, which is great to see.
We had a good run, didn't we, with Keller? But like, it's great, like you said, it's great seeing him. An interesting point on that mentality thing, because it seems Liverpool always dig out those games 2-1 all the time, so much that it can't just be luck.
Absolutely, that's definitely been the difference. It's what switched over, which is great to see. But yeah, I've been following Keller quite closely and willing him on. It's great to see him involved in the team. I think this one, obviously, Fulham have made some strides recently, and Trent is back, which is huge for them attacking and defensively. There's plenty of character, obviously, in LFC, so I'm going to go 3-1 win. I do think they'll concede, but yeah.
Kevin, to you, as Ciarán mentioned, Trent Alexander-Arnold, he was only on the pitch a couple of minutes and put in an unbelievable ball in for the Mane goal. I think it might have been an own goal for the Liverpool's fourth. How do you see this game going?
Yeah, again, the same. I went for a 3-0 win for Liverpool. They're too strong. They're one of the best, probably the best team in Europe as it is. Despite that the loss of Van Dijk and Alisson in the last few games, we saw Kelleher step in, do an unbelievable job for them, and the likes of Nat Phillips and that have gone in there and done a great job at centre back. We've said that Fulham are making strides forward. All they're doing are narrowing, the loss from 5-0 to 2-0. So I don't think Fulham will score. I think Liverpool are way too strong for them. So I've gone with a 3-0 win for Liverpool.
Quick word on this match, Sean.
Yeah, look, I think it's Liverpool by a considerable amount. I kind of fancy Fulham to score. But I think it is important that you don't get hockeyed, and I think the 2-0 defeat to City or not conceding a huge amount of goals is big. I think it is big, and I think it does show you the strides that Scott Parker has made with them.
Yes, and so we'll stick with you, Ciarán, then for Leicester, home to Brighton. Leicester are kind of been a bit weird this season. Like, they've 7 wins, 4 defeats, but they're 4th in the table. But some of those 4 defeats were home to teams they should be beaten. How do you see them faring going forward in the season and this game then?
Yeah, I think Leicester's strong. I actually, to be honest with this one, I know a good few Brighton fans quite well, so I get a lot of Brighton content. And they're reasonably optimistic in terms of what they did the last game against Southampton. They were very strong in the first half, and then they just completely sat back. So yeah, they looked really good. And I think Leicester generally are obviously strong all over the park. Brennan's done a great job for them over the last couple of years. And I reckon, yeah, again, with this fixture of the weekend, I think they'll have too much. I think it's a 2-1 win. But yeah, Brighton is a team I like a lot. So I wouldn't be surprised if they nicked the result, maybe 1-1. But yeah, for this one, I'm going to go 2-1. And because I like Leicester all over the park.
Oh yeah, it's a big call for Leicester considering you were Brighton biased there. Could have easily gone for them, knowing a few fans. But like Ciarán said there, I guess Brighton have been impressive their performances, Kev. It's just a case that they can't seem to get string a set of results. They are like 16th, so you have to be concerned because they're only 4 points off relegation. But how do you see this game going?
Yeah, the 16th position in the table is doing them no favours. I thought they've been quite good this season. Of course, very unlucky last week against Southampton. Like, that was a very dodgy penalty to give away, but yeah, I think they're a very strong team. It's a weird one. It's like Newcastle almost, where they're quite strong, but they just can't finish. And I don't know what it is about them. Connolly is probably one of their biggest attacking threats, and I don't think he scored this season or anything like that. Albeit he is a very good player, and we have to admit he is a very good player. Leicester, on the other hand, we know they have goal scorers all over the team there, especially Jamie Vardy. So again, I think Jamie Vardy will do the business for Leicester this weekend. So I've gone with a 2-1 win for Leicester. But I'd imagine Brighton will actually probably play better than Leicester, but Leicester will still come away with a win.
Nice break for you, lads, considering it's the same result, so you can kind of chill that match and it'll all be on the last game. Sean, quick word again on Leicester before we move on to Arsenal.
Yeah, I don't know. Like I said, I think Brendan Rodgers, one thing that's plagued him his whole managerial career is that inconsistency. And I thought they were really good for 30 minutes against Sheffield United and then concede a corner. And, I think you can't do that to Brighton because, they've got 3 big centre-backs, 2 big midfielders and Danny Welbeck up front. So I think they'll fancy their chances if they get a corner. And if I was playing Leicester at the moment, I'd just get the ball down the wing and put in a cross because they are hopeless. If you actually watch them, no one attacks the ball from a corner bar Johnny Evans. So look, I think it depends how Brighton set up. I think if they sit in the shell, I think they can get great joy on the counter attack. But if they try and take control of the game and have 60 70% possession against Leicester, I think he'll just shoot Leicester down to the ground. And what's to say Jamie Vardy won't score again? I mean, that goal, it's such an iconic goal because it's just classic Jamie Vardy. And when someone makes half a mistake on the halfway line and 20 seconds later it's in the back of the net, and the celebration against the club he hated as a boy, I think it's just, another reason why he's an icon of Premier League football.
Absolutely. Sean, we'll stick with you and Arsenal then to have a quick word before we bring the lads' predictions in. I'd be very worried at a home game against Burnley, to be honest with you. You're kind of holding out hopes that obviously Arteta, I think the majority of Arsenal fans feel he's the right man for the job, but we're just thinking short term here. He's definitely under pressure in terms of, like, if you're looking at the table here for those on YouTube or those aren't, Arsenal are 15th in the table, 4 wins, 1 draw, 6 defeats, and 10 goals scored in 11 games with the likes of Aubameyang on that pitch.
Yeah, no, it for as much as you can say he's the right man, that they've really struggled. And if you look at their Europa League form, it's been entirely different, albeit against really poor sides, but some young players have really shone through. And I think there is quality in and amongst the ranks underneath the first team players. And maybe they understand what Mikel Arteta wants to play, because maybe it's if you look at the under-23s and the under-21s in Europa League, it's sort of Mikel Arteta's main philosophy on football. So I think this game is all right for Burnley, is because Burnley don't cause a huge amount of threat on the counter-attack, and it's something that Arsenal really struggle with. And if you look at Burnley's probably main strength, it's probably set plays and dead balls, and I think Arsenal are actually defending them pretty well at the moment. So I don't think Burnley are going to cause a huge amount of danger on the counter-attack, so Arsenal can commit a lot more men. But that being said, I mean, they can't score a goal. They can't buy a goal at the minute. So I don't know what's going to happen. And Pepe, I mean, this is the kind of game where you really want Pepe, and he's serving the last game of his 3-match ban. So I think, it just proves that that they're short of something at the moment. And I'd like to see a few more of the young guys given a chance. Like Reece Nelson wasn't even in the squad for the North London derby. Eddie Nketiah, I know Gabby Martinelli's come back and we only played 45 minutes for the 23. So I think there's a long way to go with him. But something has to change at the moment, because 1 point from 4 games in the Premier League, if you want to get top 6 football, top 8 football, is not good enough at all. And if you look at the form, no one's worse at the moment in the top half of the table, and Arsenal are 15 for a reason.
Kev, that reminded me of you ranting about United, but the difference is you were ranting about Champions League football, or going out of Champions League football, not a game between 15th and 18th. How do you see this game going?
I'll be ranting about Europa League football very soon, though, unfortunately.
Welcome.
Listen, I think this is the game that Arsenal need. It's against a team that can't score, against a team that can't defend as well. So, yeah, I've gone with a 3-1 win for Arsenal. I think this game is badly needed for them, especially with the forwards' confidence. Aubameyang, I'd hope he scores. For Arsenal's sake, I hope he scores in this game. Same with Lacazette. They need goals. They're confidence players. They're not players that are consistent without scoring goals. They don't provide enough other than that, to the attacking side. Obviously, Pepe's gone. I still don't think he's a very big loss. I was watching him against Dundalk tonight, and he was hopeless again. So, yeah, it's a weird one. Again, at the back, Arsenal, they just need to look for defenders in the summer or in January, because I cannot see how they can challenge for a top 4, and at the moment, even top 6, with the likes of Pablo Mari, David Luiz, Mustafi captain tonight, and everything. Like, it's just I don't know. It's a weird one. Like, but I think they'll beat Burnley. I think this is the game that they need, but they really need to shore up at the back, especially. But I've gone for a 3-1 win for Arsenal. I think they'll concede, but I think they'll win the game.
Yeah, to my knowledge, to go back to something Sean said, I think Arsenal are the only club not to concede from a set piece this season in the Premier League. So that's a nice jinx for Burnley to go 1-0 up. Ciarán, sorry. Again, like we mentioned, 15th, 18. Arsenal have actually just beaten Dundalk 4-2 there. So nice result, but again, even conceding a couple of goals there. I don't know if Arteta's just going to try and make Arsenal more attacking. But how do you see this game going, and what do you think of Arteta overall? Do you see a little bit of resemblance of Jurgen Klopp, or is that just...
Yeah, I think that's kind of wishful thinking to compare anyone to Klopp at the moment, to be honest with you. I do like Arteta as a man manager. I think he's got a lot of strength there. It looks like the players like playing for him. Arsenal in general, I think that Pepe price just gets more and more ridiculous as time goes by. Honestly, what was it, 75 million? Like, it's undermining
72 million for installments. We're still paying. I think we owe 17 million this year. So
It's ridiculous. I saw there was an inquest going on about how they could ever value him at that price, which is just crazy. And it does sum up Arsenal, I suppose, over the last couple of years. Just a bad decision. And I think I do fancy Arsenal to bounce back a little bit from a poor performance against Spurs. Obviously, Burnley stronger away record. I don't think this one will be much of a spectacle, to be honest with you. And I'm thinking Arsenal 1-0 as well. I've gone for. Great to see Robbie Brady getting back on the score sheet for Burnley. But ultimately, I think they're pretty limited up front. So yeah, 1-0 Arsenal for me.
The one thing, Sean Hoare just scored earlier for Dundalk from a set play, actually. So definitely the jinx on Burnley to score. The one thing I was like, I think Pepe's good. I think Arsenal just probably aren't playing to him. I think he probably needs space. And you look at the 72 million. I mean, he's young enough. I think he's 24, 25, and now in his last season with Lille, he was second top scorer in League One behind Mbappe. So, you know,
I don't know.
Arsenal probably have got had a little bit in terms of look what 70 million has brought other teams, but you know, I mean, United paid 80 million for Harry Maguire, and I don't think anyone says anything. Maybe because he's English, I don't know.
Ciarán, what we're signing, Harry Maguire or Nicolas Pepe?
Hard to say. I think you have to say Pepe right now in terms of production. What Harry Maguire has brought in to do, I suppose he's done that in some aspects of it. He's a bit of a leader. He's a bit of a man at the back. Pepe was there to score goals. He was there to score 10 or 15 goals in the Premier League. And yeah, I think for what else is available at that price, I think you have to look at Pepe as one of the worst signings of the last 10 years.
Kev, just a big smile on his face, staying out of it. Yeah, you could probably argue at the moment.
It's just, I can see you squinting even asking that question because you knew the answer straight away.
I knew. I got to Harry Maguire. I kind of knew who was next. Well, lads, listen, I'm going to try and get better week on week in terms of trying to read out these predictions quickly. So for those that skipped the end to get the predictions, Leeds, West Ham, Kev's gone 2-0, Ciarán 2-1. Wolves, Villa, Kev's gone 3-1, Ciarán's got 1-1. Newcastle, West Brom, 3-0, home win, Kev, 2-0, Ciarán. United City, Kev's gone 2-0, Ciarán 1-0. Everton, Chelsea, Kev's gone 1-3, Ciarán's gone 2-0. Saints, Sheffield United, Kev's gone 1-2 to Sheffield United, and Ciarán's gone 2-1 home win. Palace, Spurs, then again, Kev's gone 2-1 home win, Ciarán's gone 2-0 Spurs. Kev's then gone 3-0 Liverpool away to Fulham, Ciarán's gone 3-1. Leicester, Brighton, both gone 2-1 home win. Nice easy one for me there. And then the last one, Kev's gone 3-1 Arsenal at home to Burnley, and Ciarán's gone 1-0 Arsenal at home to Burnley, and no one even questions that for a second, which just about says it all about Arsenal. But lads, thanks a million for coming on the podcast. We really appreciate it. For those that aren't subscribed yet, hit the bottom right if you're watching on YouTube. For those that are listening on Apple Podcasts, we really appreciate a 5-star review. And get us on social media at Tackling Sport, where you can kind of keep up to date with this game here. We'll try and get a bit of a momentum going behind this now, Ciarán, and get the New Zealand fans out in action. But thanks a million to both of you guys for coming on.
Cheers, lads.
Thanks very much, lads. All the best.
Cheers. And thanks to Sean. Sean, you end the thing there, and have a great weekend. Enjoy the sport, and we'll chat to you on Monday for a review.